It is a very passionate thing, you know. I lost them again. I saw their faces go like, what is he talking about?
Well, let me ask you.
There's one guy over
there's
there.
one over there already. Did everyone hear that on that side of the room? I was just asking about the difference between acting to computer-generated effects, where you're, maybe on a green screen, versus practical effects, where I guess you kind of know that it's. Yeah.
Look, there's room for both. You know what green screen is, right? When I was an actor in New York, a young actor, we had no money, so we would do a play and we paint the whole thing black, and it looked like this with a black stage and a couple of real chairs, right? And that was it. It's the same thing as CG. The only thing is that later on they add in, whatever they want. They make you look good or bad. I mean, they could put anything there. I mean, and you're talking a lot of times to a tennis ball, on a stick, and that's the dragon or whatever it is. I mean, and then naturally the crew puts a little smiley face on it, which makes it even worse. But practical effects, basically, it's by volume, what we would consider part of whatever this creature is, or whatever happened to this person, or you know what I mean. It's real. It's rubber and or plaster or whatever they come up with. But it's very different to work with that. And they light it right, and they wet it down. They put oil on it, or they steam coming out of it, or whatever it is. But it's real. I think there's room for both. I remember Tom Woodruff and Alec Gillis when we did Alien versus Predator. The Predator was real. I mean, that guy was, when he had all of it on, he was 8 feet tall, and he was 7'6" in life, and a real athlete. So he could move. But there were things that he couldn't do that the part demanded, like throwing one of those that kind of look like a metal frisbee that will cut your head off, right? They had to put that in with CG, and we were sitting in a screening of it and went, my God, that's seamless. He pulled it out, and he started to throw it, and then they added the other thing on, and it went and cut a facehugger right in half. It was really great. It was really, but, well, if you like that kind of thing.
I think it's safe to say we do. We do.
Yeah. But it's all of the, back in the 1900s, there was a poet, and his name was Apollinaire, and he used to do, on the front page of Figaro newspaper, he would do manifestos. He was a very bright guy, and he saw the first movie when it was a black and white first movie, and he said all of the arts are going to end up being in movies. He knew it back then, 1900. It was like the guy was a visionary because he could see that music and color and all of that stuff was going to happen, and it did. Look at it now. I mean, you can look at that thing. I don't even know what that does. I mean, but it's probably getting great sound.
Well, on the topic of microphones and working in different mediums, you do a lot of very awesome voice acting. Of course, games like Mass Effect, one of my favorite series, Legend of Korra. Do you enjoy the challenge of voice acting?
Yeah. you know who Guillermo del Toro is, right? Well, he's doing, he's a great guy. He's a big teddy bear, but he's a great guy. And that's a positive. No, the teddy bear part.
Yeah.
No. But he's doing a show called The Strain. And I have a 3-year contract with them. I'm doing the voice of the master in that. And recently, they had me speaking in Romanian, and I don't speak Romanian. So we had a translator, and the translator's in Toronto, and I'm in LA, and she's giving me the phonetics and all of that, and now I'm trying to do it like you would say it as a real person. And it turned out amazing, but Romanian, I mean, that's like Italian, Slavic sort of thing. really difficult pronunciations, but we did it, and they're layering in my English, speaking English, with that and with a whisper. So all of them are all layered in together. So you get the feeling that this guy's 1,000 years old, and he's got some damage he wants to do. So.
Do you remember
I
any
like
of the
that.
Romanian? Do you remember any of the lines in Romanian?
No. No, I don't even, Mass Effect, I don't even remember the lines. The only one I remember is hack it out. After you do this long thing for my diary, and then hack it out. That's it. And that's not alimony stuff. I really love doing that kind of stuff. I really do.
Go back to the floor for some questions. There was another gentleman right there. Yeah.
Thank you. Cool. Would you repeat that for them?
Okay, so it was a bit of a preamble to the question, but it was about your fantastic book. I'm assuming your Ride to Hell, right? To Hell You Ride, excuse me, which is your...
Oh, the comic book. I did a comic book, yeah.
No, other book.
Oh, the other book.
Oh, of course, Not Bad for a Human.
Oh.
Your autobiography.
Hey, I did a comic book, and it took 2 years to write. 2 years. And the truth of it is, it's for Dark Horse Comics. And we wanted Tom Mandrake to do the art, right? And they said, no, we can't afford Tom Mandrake. And I said, no, we want Tom Mandrake. You don't understand. Joe Madry and I wrote the script part. And they said, well, we argued back and forth. And I said, all right, I tell you what, give Joe and I $1 apiece to seal this contract. And the money you would have had to give us as writers, you now can afford Tom Mandrake. And they said, oh, that's good. Okay, we'll do that. And 2 years later, I have never worked so hard for $1 in my life. That's a reverse alimony job. Wow. But anyway, we're hoping for a movie out of it. That's the reason I wanted to do it for $1. If you guys haven't seen it, it's pretty good. It's called To Hell You Ride, and we want Jason Momoa to play the lead in it. So I love Jason. He's a great guy. Anyway, and what about the book?
I was asking about Not Bad for a Human, and how
Yeah.
I pointed out that it's not so much about gossip and that sort of thing, but more about the lessons that you learned over your career.
Oh yeah, everybody has a story. I'm from New York, and I was a street kid, shining shoes and going to movies with the money, and my mother was a waitress, so nobody was really watching me. So that's where I got my hunger for movies. Because back in my childhood, you could go to a movie and sit there and watch it over and over again for 8 hours. And you knew every line. I went upstream with Kirk Douglas and, on a riverboat and all that kind of stuff. So I was already an addicted, actor-y kind of kid. When I was shining shoes, I was playing parts, I was acting out on people. Oh, you don't like it that I got crap on your socks? Well, don't pay me then. Start playing, Anyway, yeah, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed that book. There's a lot in it, You don't want to hear about it, believe me. I'll lose you. Talk about it.
He did ask if there was any news on a Millennium movie, I believe.
Yeah,
was the question.
the Millennium film, another book has come out. It's called Back to Frank Black, and it was written in London, and it's a really good book. And Chris Carter wrote something in it, and every director that was in it that worked on it wrote stuff for the book. And if anything's going to tip Fox Studios into maybe considering a movie, it's all of the effort that everybody's made in that way, So there's a good chance. I mean, Chris wants to do it. He said, but it's a long shot. Who knows what the, Fox Studios guys are doing, I mean, I don't know what they do.
Well, it did seem like a show that was maybe a little bit ahead of its time. There's so many shows that I can think of that are very similar to it that are on television now, and it seems like shows, I should say, fandom has really supported the return of many series or properties or franchises back from the dead. Do you think it would be cool to reboot the series or do
No,
it new?
you're not going to redo a television show.
No.
All of us that worked on it have grown and changed over the years, and all the experiences we've had. A millennium changed us when we did it, and now we've stepped away from it, and we've got an even more exotic kind of view of what it could be. I mean, I got great ideas about where that could go. I mean, I really do. In fact, now I don't want to tell you any. Oh wait, I don't want to blow the audience out. You should have heard what he was saying. I mean, between that and the pottery.
There's a question right there. Yeah.
Hi, I just had a question about your voice acting. I know that you do a lot of voice acting and a lot of screen acting, and I wanted to know which one was your preference and if it was more difficult to prepare for characters for one or the other.
Did everyone hear that?
No, you repeat.
Just wondering about the difference between voice acting and acting for the screen, for the camera. Was one more challenging to prepare for versus the other?
It's all different. It really is. I'm going to be working on the 9th. I start a movie called Monsters, Kids versus Monsters, and Malcolm McDowell's in it, and he plays my boss, and I'm playing a guy with little tiny horns, and they're itching like crazy because they're just coming out. I dropped the other ones, and now these are coming out, and I'm a clumsy idiot. It's a comedy, and I don't know if I'm going to be funny, but I know the situation is funny. But anyway, it's a bunch of parents that want to get rid of their kids, so they come to us to get rid of their kids, and it turns out by the end that we get rid of them because the kids are great kids. But anyway, acting, building a role or an ability with acting is all in baby steps. When I did my first voiceover ever, I was on Broadway we were with Pavel Hummel on Broadway, and Pepsi-Cola saw me on the stage and heard my voice and said, we want to give you $30,000 to come and do one line for Pepsi. And the line, I'll never forget it, was, you look good, you feel good, and it shows. Drink Pepsi, right? So I get into the booth, and I had never done this stuff before, and so I said, well, you look good, you feel good, and it shows. Drink Pepsi. And I left. And the guy said, wait, where are you going? You got to hit the end a little harder around the beat. And I said, you know what? No. I don't want to listen to myself talk. I mean, and I walked away from 30 grand. Oh, my God. I was such an idealist. It was ridiculous. But that was my first thing. And from then on, I was haunted by, if I just stayed there 5 more minutes, I mean, I would have had it. And so I lost all of my prejudices about what an actor is and what you're capable of doing. There's nothing wrong with doing voiceovers. But that week was the same week that Ryan's Hope asked me, would I be a reoccurring character for 3 years on Ryan's Hope. So it's 50 grand for the first year, 100 grand for the second year, and 150 for the third year. And nobody in my family had ever made that kind of money. I mean, I never thought I'd be making any money as an actor. I mean, I didn't know. And I did 4 shows for them, 2 shows a day, which was 4 shows. And it was the worst experience of my life. I mean, people would be talking to you going, I don't know, Bob. I think the phone is ringing and it's your call. And they're pumping you. The guy's pumping me. And I said, why are you grabbing me like that, man? Or they can't remember their lines. Or it just went on and on and on. I said, this is the worst behavior that I can imagine for an actor to be doing. I mean, this is, I think that's my agent. I won't take the call. Hello? But you build your skills over the years, a little bit at a time, and often you're very alone out there with your decision, because when I didn't do the Ryan's Hope for 3 years, my agent fired me. He wanted that 10%. I mean, he fired me, and I said, okay, good. I said, I don't want this. I don't want to learn bad tricks. You know, so I wasn't ready yet. So it's okay. But as you go on with your career, you keep adding to your skills. I don't mean your tricks, but your skills. I'm more available. I'm ready to try something new, different, that I don't know how I'm going to do it. And, you know, I don't know how I'm going to do.
Well, you mentioned how you were, you
Shut
started...
up. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Every time I say something like that, he tenses up. I think he's going to snap. He's like, he's going to shoot me.
You mentioned that you started your shoe shining and aspiring to act. It seems like there's a bit of a struggle there, and it seems to me that the best musicians, the best actors, the best artists, they all come from struggle. There might be a few out there who are the children of renowned artists.
You
Is
know,
struggle
what you're
important?
calling struggle isn't, I didn't get invited in. That's the struggle. Why should they invite me in? I got to kick the door down. They can't, I have to climb over the wall. I have to, you know, I mean, I remember when I was 16, my mother and I were in a car, and we were traveling across country, and we had no money, so she doesn't want me to tell this story. But anyway, we got a job. She got a job as a waitress, and I got a job as a waiter for the Democratic convention that was in Phoenix. And Kennedy was there. And I had bought a $5 tuxedo, which, you know, I mean, because I knew I was going to make at least $60 that day, but $5 tuxedo, and the sleeves came down to here. And they put me on the head table, believe it or not, because I had what resembled the tuxedo, right? And I threw ice cream, you know, the members ones with the paper around it, you know, that ice cream. I dropped it into everybody's plate and Kennedy's plate. He was going for the nomination. He wasn't anybody yet. Well, he was, but I didn't know who he was. I mean, and then afterwards, I heard his speech, and everybody in the room, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of people, were absolutely, you could hear a pin drop. And he was doing this great speech. He said, they say that what's going to be left of America is 1 million miles of blacktop roads and 1,000 lost golf balls. He said, but if I'm elected, that's not going to happen. You know, it was a very great speech. But anyway, the reason I'm bringing it up is rubbing elbows with life is what changes your perception about how far you're going to be able to go. When I found out later, this is Kennedy, that I had thrown ice cream in his plate, I felt good. I really did. And I heard the speech, and I thought it was great. So it puts me in a little adventure moment. And that's what we are. That's how we do it. All of us. I'm not anything different. So that's an interesting story.
I think
And look, now I'm going to be doing Lick My Bowls.
I want to wrap it up there, but we have time for one more. So this guy right there.
So, speaking of alimony movies, let's bring it back to that. For either better or worse, what would you consider the most surprise you had from filming to seeing the final product? Whether it was better than you expected or the other way?
Good question.
When you do your first movie, anybody here who's ever done a movie and it's their first movie, what happens is you stand around waiting breathlessly for that movie to be finished so you could see it. And you have all these fantasies. I mean, you can't sleep at night. You're up all night wondering about this movie. that scene that I did, or whatever it is, right? This horrible waiting for that thing. And then you see it. And you realize, I've been torturing myself for a year for that? For this? For what? The smell of popcorn and the camera's a little shaky and the sound goes out and on. And you just, it becomes absurd. I mean, what we've done here tonight, just talking to each other and sitting here and having fun, that lasts longer than waiting for a movie to see it. And you see it. A movie has a very short lifespan in reality, because it comes out, it's in the theater for like a month at the most now, and then it's gone. And then it comes back in Blu-ray, and you see it again if you want. But the lifespan is short. But all of the product from the side issue products, they last forever. They'll never go away. I've done some alimony films. I'm not telling you the titles that were, oh man. My life would be, my career would be over if they ever showed 5 of them together. That's it. Really gone, really gone. It's a fickle world if they saw. Thank you guys for being interested in it all. I really appreciate it.
Lance Henriksen, everyone.
A lot of fun.
Be sure to visit him at his booth. Enjoy the rest of Calgary Expo.
Test, test. 1, 2. Test, test.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. I know I'm not the person you're expecting. Barry Boswick has encountered just a little bit of classic downtown Calgary traffic. He is on his way, so please bear with us. He should be here in the next 5 to 10 minutes at the most. So, our apologies, and gosh darn Calgary traffic.